I did a video on this on TikTok, and I did top 5 agents in Valorant, and I did the bottom 5 agents in Valorant. People from the bottom 5 got hella mold, especially me putting Phoenix at the bottom. Okay, let's start off. The obvious, Sova S tier. No question asked, best character in the game. Don't even at me. That's stats. And legit, all the pro teams use Sova. It's like 80% use rate or some shit. Another one, S, I reckon Viper. Viper's another one. Viper is like really cracked. Like, she's got like the walls, the smoke. Like, she's got everything you need, like, in an agent to just support the team and push on the side. Like, there's literally nothing else better that you can have than Viper. Best controller, easy. So Skye got a small nerf in the recent update, but I think she's still either A or S, but I'm not actually sure. Like, it's definitely A, but it's debatably S. I'll keep Skye at S, but I might change it to A depending on what I do here. Reyna is an S, no shot. Even though I put her at number 2, the reason I put her at number 2 is because she's the best solo queue character there is. 100%. You can carry your fucking team. Let's say you have one Immortal versus like, and in a silver lobby versus like a bunch of silvers. If the Immortal gets Reyna, it's an instant win. Like, it's an instant up. If he has any other character, let's say he has a Killjoy or Viper, like, it's still winnable, definitely. But it's not as winnable as Reyna. Reyna's insta-carry. I'm gonna put Reyna at B. But if we're talking about solo queuing, S, 100%. But overall, I think it's B. Mainly because, and hear me out here. Hear me out. The reason is because she only has, like, one ability, really. The Flash. The Flash is really good, solid. But, like, there's no other util. Like, you can't really help your team. It's a very selfish character. You really have to rely on your aim and pop off and just go all in for it to work. And some people even think she's C, but I think she's B. I think she's solid B. Jett is the last one in top 5 that was on here. Now, after the nerf, it's gonna be completely different. It's really hard. I honestly would put Jett S tier before the nerf. 100%. Now, I don't even know if it's A because we really haven't seen enough. I kind of want to put her at B, but, like, also she's just cracked, like, in general. Like, just the movement is so OP. Just so overpowered. Like, the dashes, the up drives, so you can get into the biggest fucking off angles. Like, it's just, it's almost like a Reyna, in a sense, where you can dash out of fights, you can get away. You can, you know, she's pretty much the only viable AWP character. So, like, AWP is cracked. So, I mean, it kind of works there. I'm going to put her high B, but honestly, I might change that to a low A later. Astra is 100% A, in my opinion, in pro play. She's just, like, overall, if you have coordination with your team, if you have comms, easy dubs. That being said, in lower ranks and people that don't use mics, nobody comms, right? Nobody comms in my lobbies. It's very rare. And, no, you don't, cunts. Did you say you comm? Okay, so if you have comms, and if you coordinate with your team, if you know what you're doing, if you can play off each other, if you can work together properly, it's very, very correct. I'm gonna put her B, but if we were talking about pros, A, probably mid A to low A, probably low A. And if we were talking about solo queue, C or D. Let's go Phoenix next. So Phoenix is definitely an interesting one. So Phoenix is cracked. Solo queue cracked. You know, he's just very solid for pushing by yourself, pushing up the ranks. Pro play, completely different. Almost never used. Sick is the only one that actually uses him. If we're talking about solo queue, A. Low A, mid A, I'd say, right? The wall is pretty solid, but there are better options to get on site. The Viper wall is much better. The Molly is pretty solid, and the ult is probably one of the best ults in the game. But besides that, Phoenix isn't that good at pro play. I'm gonna say, for solo queue, we're gonna put him low A, but pro play, I'd say C. Just because, like, there's so many better options. There's so many better options. But if you are good at Phoenix, it's just easy dubs. Like, it's just easy dubs. So we're going to go low C. So Brimstone, just himself, the smokes are technically the best in the game. And when you say best in the game, the actual smokes last longer than Omen's. But Omen does have a longer range. It's definitely an alright character. The Molly is decent if you have lineups, but, like, that's just greasy. The stim beacon, pretty decent as well. It's very good on defense. Like, if you're holding an angle, chuck a stim beacon down, easy dubs. That's solid. For Brim, I'm gonna put him high C, because overall, I don't think he's that good. His ult is solid. Like, it's definitely a supportive character. You definitely do need a lot of coordination for him. But I don't think he's overall that good. That's all. I think he's high C. He could be low B maybe, but I think high C is fine. KO, I think he got a little bit of a buff. I think, yeah, I think before the nerf, high D or low C. Sorry, before the buff. I think nowadays he could be a bit higher, but honestly, I don't really like his flashes. His flashes aren't that good. Like you can almost never flash. Like you have to bounce it off something, and you have to have like some sort of like semi lineup for it. Like I don't know, the flashes are decent. Like they're solid, they last for ages, they're good. But at the same time, like you really have to like throw it behind you and then peek. Or do some other like greasy shit, which works most of the time, but it's mostly only at high level play where you can do that shit, because otherwise you're just gonna flash yourself, you're gonna flash your team. The knife is decent. I feel like 8 seconds honestly isn't that long. It's more for info though, because you can see like who the character's there as well. But I feel like if they buff that to maybe 12 seconds, it'd be decent. They can make the molly. I was thinking this, because like, you know how KO is kind of like a cancellation of abilities, right? Imagine you put the molly down, and you yourself can't get damage from it, and you are immune to lineups. So think of it this way. You put your molly down on the bomb, you start defusing, and if there's a Viper or a Sova double shock dart coming in, you're immune. That would be interesting. Okay, so I'm going to put KO at bottom C. Bottom of C, I think.
Yoru,
just behind Brim.
Yoru,
Okay, Yoru just insta-D. Yoru is mostly a troll character. Not very good at all. Riot themselves have said that this agent is shit and it needs a huge rework. They're working on a rework, but apparently they don't have the budget to get someone to rework him. It's just a trash character. They need to change the whole fucking thing. Just garbage, really. I reckon Sage and Raze go really high on this list. Sage, I definitely think I would have put 6th on that list. Probably, maybe even above Jett. I'm not even sure if I, like, redid it. But I think Sage would definitely be 6th on that list. I'm going to put a low A. The heals, honestly, are pretty shit. She's considered the healing character, right? Sage. Like, if you say, what's the healing character in Valorant? You say Sage. Sage is shit for heals. She has, like, you get 70 heals off that.
I say Skye.
Skye is 100% better for heals. Which is why Skye is just way better. Like, Skye is bottom of S tier, high A. Sage, like, the walls, you can have some cracked walls. The slows are pretty solid for pushing on the side and just slowing the enemy down. Kind of like Raze's kit, which we'll talk about in a sec. The res is the main thing with Sage. Sage, without the res, I don't know what else they could put. If they, like, it'd be shit. Like, she's probably got the 2nd or 3rd best ult in the game, behind Phoenix and maybe one other that I'd have to think of. Raze, I think, is probably low A, high B. Her ult is almost a guaranteed kill if you do it at the right time. Her satchel, like, if you're good at satcheling, it can be very deadly. You get a judge or even a shorty. Like, I think she goes low A or high B. Probably gonna put her low A, I think, just behind Sage.
I agree with that.
Breach. Okay, Breach is very interesting because a lot of people hate this character, think he's the most trash, bottom fucking, and some people think he's actually cracked. Like, it's very mixed opinions. I don't think he's S. I don't think he's A. I think he's very mediocre. I think he's very just in the middle. At high level, he's not that good. He's decent, like, in pro play, but, like, it's mainly... he's mainly good in low level, and a lot of, like, people below gold think he's cracked because of the flashes. The flashes are really hard to dodge, but once you get to a high level, plat and above, diamond and above, the flashes are, like, people know how to dodge them, look away much faster and flick back. I have that faster reaction time, everything. So I'm gonna put him at low B. I think just behind Phoenix. He could be above Phoenix and Astra, maybe, debatably. But I don't know. He's probably he's probably anywhere in between here. But I'm just gonna keep him low B. Alright, Cypher. Cypher is pretty underwhelming these days. Everybody knows how to counter him. The tripwire is very predictable these days. I think, like, there are good rounds where you can have, like if you have a really good Cypher...
Cypher cracked, S tier.
No. No. I think Cypher, if you have good lineups and good cam spots and good, you know, cages and tripwires, like, he's one of the first characters to come out. Everybody knows how to counter him. It's always the same. It's always the same tripwires, all the same bullshit. As long as you kill the tripwires, he's almost like, he doesn't really add much value besides the cam, maybe. The reason Cypher is so low is because you play either Cypher or Sova. And Sova is just that much better that it doesn't really make much sense to have a Cypher on your team. Omen, we were talking about this last night. The ult is kind of good, but it makes a lot of noise and it's kind of hard to surprise the enemy. The smokes are solid. You get, like, the recharge and you get 2 smokes and they can go all across the map. Like, you go 75-80% of the map, which is really good. So you can sometimes fake a sight even, sometimes. But, and the CPs are kind of trash, but they have outplay potential, like in a 1v1 or a 1v2 situation. The blind as well. The reason I'd say Omen is bottom C, but the fact the blind can sometimes win you rounds. Just a single blind
Dude, he's B.
can win you rounds just by itself. I'd say low B or high C, but I'm not sure. Killjoy. Killjoy's definitely better than C and probably better than B. I'd probably put a bottom of A. The turret's pretty cracked on...
No,
turret's pretty cracked on defense. The mollies are cracked on post plant. I would say bottom of A, if not even like somewhere in between. Fuck it, I'll put it here. I think above Sage is fair, but